This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones. I'm your host, Allie Bretnacher, and if you run, you're a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me each week as I celebrate all different kinds of runners and celebrate finish lines and milestones. And this milestone week was me getting ready for my very first Indy Mini Expo. So the Indy Mini is a race in Indianapolis that has a 5K and a half marathon, and I've run it 16 times. This will be my 17th time. Either that or I've done it 17. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to look at my spreadsheet. But I've done it a lot. It's a rite of passage here in Indianapolis. And so today was the first day at the booth. And I loved meeting people who listen to this. So if you were one of them, I love you. I'm so glad I got to meet you in person. And especially people too who I've been following on Instagram or chatted with on Instagram and now got to meet in real life. It's so nice and it gives me so much energy. And I need that for tomorrow and Saturday. So tomorrow I'll be at the expo all day. That is actually today, if you're listening when this podcast episode comes out on May 2nd. I will be at the expo all day, and then I'm co-hosting an event with Lindsay Hine, who's the host of the I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine, and also the founder of Sandy Boy Productions, which is the podcast network that Finish Lines and Milestones is now a part of. So we're doing a live podcast. Lindsay will be interviewing Kim Conley, a two-time Olympian, and Cameron Balzer, who's a Hoosier, and he ran around the perimeter of the United States last year. So two really amazing people to help energize people for the Mini. And we've got over 100 people coming, and I'm nervous and I'm excited, and I don't want it to be over, but I also can't wait till it's over. I feel like running the Mini on Saturday, ironically, is going to be my break from what has been a crazy week and weekend, but again, something that I live for and love so much. So no complaining here. I get to do this. So before I tell you about this week's episode, I do want to make sure that I let you know that the event is brought to you by Brooks Running. Brooks Running came in as our title sponsor, all thanks to Athletic Annex, our local run specialty store, also has an online presence. So if you're not local, check them out. And then Athlete Bouquets, which is my business, which is the booth that I have at the Mini. Probably should tell you that. Bitch Sticks, Bottleworks Hotel, where I'm sitting right now, Previnex, Project Lean Nation, Transcend Training and Performance, and Stretch Lab. Thank you so much to all of our incredible sponsors for making this event happen, getting Lindsay in town. I'm so excited, and I'm really hoping that this is an event perhaps we can do year after year, that perhaps we can do something similar around the Monumental Marathon in November. Who knows? But this has been really fun getting a chance to plan an event like this alongside something that I love so much. Now, for this week's episode, I have Lauren Gaudion. Lauren ran the Indy Mini last year with Tony Kanaan, who is an IndyCar driver, now retired. But if you don't know who Tony is, you should if you're local. If you're not local, he's a famous IndyCar driver. Google him. Tony has been a fan favorite for so long, and to see him running the Indy Mini was so cool. He's done it before, but last year I just happened to be pushing for Ainsley's Angels for the very first time, and I look over and there's Tony Kanaan, and there's a woman running with him, and we cross the finish line close to them, and I have a video, a picture of it. They're in our finish line photos, which I'll definitely link for you. But it was really funny. And then afterwards I thought, you know what? That would be a really cool story. And so I tracked her down, and here we are. Lauren was a collegiate pole vaulter, which is super cool. I don't think I've ever met a pole vaulter, to be honest. And she's also a runner and has been for a time. And she runs without a watch, which I find absolutely fascinating. And I just find her life and career really fascinating. So I know that you're really gonna love this conversation with my new friend, Lauren Gaudion. Lauren Gaudion, welcome. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you. You as well. Been looking forward to this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we get to talk about running. It's the best.
Easy enough.
And you have such a fascinating life, I feel like.
Well, you're too kind.
Well, I can't wait to just dig in. So first of all, we have to talk to people about how creepy I am. and how I found you originally.
Fair enough. Okay.
Thank you for not making me feel creepy. You were like, oh, wow, I can't believe you found me. You're probably like, what in the world? So last year I ran the mini marathon with Ainsley's Angels. Mm-hmm. And I should show you pictures because you're in my finish line photos too, to make it a level creepier. But you ran the Indy Mini with Tony Kanaan.
Right.
Which I feel like most people listening to this who are local should know that name. If they don't, shame on you. People who aren't local, Tony Kanaan is a very famous race car driver. Mm-hmm. He's won the Indy 500 2 or 3 times.
One time.
Only once?
One time in 2013. Yeah, isn't that wild? You'd think for as much prominence as he has, he would have won it a few times, but he won the IndyCar championship in 2004, Indy 500 in 2013.
Okay, maybe I was thinking that. Sorry, Tony.
He wishes.
He wishes. Case, yeah. I feel like he should. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So you ran with Tony Kanaan, and I remember you guys finished like right as we were finishing because I could hear people like yelling, and then I think the announcer said something, and then I look over. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. There's Tony Kanaan, and then there's a woman running with him, and I was like, I wonder who that is. So yeah, I looked up your bib number, found you on Instagram.
That's so funny. That's amazing. I mean, I'm impressed to your dedication to find out who I was because that's hilarious to me.
Well, I just thought, I'm like, well, I would think people would love to hear about how you ended up running a half marathon with Tony Kanaan. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, so actually, I started working for Arrow McLaren the year that he was retiring.
Okay.
So he came on as a driver at Arrow McLaren, and I had just started a few months before. And so I was his press officer through the month of May, and we got to know each other really well. And
what does that mean, press officer?
So basically, throughout the month, they have different media opportunities, and every time that they're on track, there's media and sideline reporters that are coming by to understand kind of what's going on in the car to the engineering stand, and then my job is to kind of report that back, but also coordinate all of his media throughout the month. So
wow, that's a big job.
For him, it was. Yes. Yeah. Because, I mean, he's huge, and it was his last year. He'd been, I think it was his 23rd Indy 500. So the number of stories from NBC to ESPN, I mean, just media was latching onto this. So it ended up being a very full month for him, but then also for me tagging along the journey.
Right. And like you're 2 months in when he joined?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I listened to the Industrious podcast that you were on.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you go through the interview process to be part of Arrow McLaren, and they're like, what do you know about IndyCar? And you're like, I know nothing.
Correct, yes.
I mean, how does that work?
So,
like, how did you do this?
I mean, I think honestly, as a media relations professional, that's kind of the environment that you're always in.
That makes sense.
Especially if you want to switch industries, that you have to ask a lot of questions because that's how you get to know the media and what they're trying to learn from you or your company.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for me, it's just studying up what I need to then become a quasi-expert on, but also the brilliance behind being a media relations professional is that you never have to be the expert. You just have to know who has the answer.
You just have to point to the expert and be like, this is the person you need to talk about this.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. And now you have to be a race fan. Oh my gosh, being just immersed in the environment.
Yes. Yeah, I pretty much dove into it that, I've got like the checker flag earrings and different things like that you just kind of get soaked into it. But then also the McLaren brand, if you are a car fanatic or a racing fanatic, it's a fun brand to be involved in because you may not know anything about IndyCar, but a lot of people have seen a McLaren or know the brand, that it's fun to represent that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool brand. And I told you when I saw you this morning that I thought you'd be wearing papaya. Why is the name of the color papaya?
That's so funny. So we, as a brand, I mean, you think of sports teams that have mascots and they make up a mascot that then takes on this personality. Well, rather than a mascot, we've taken on a color.
Yep.
So it is orange, but to McLaren, it is papaya. So everything that we do and wear, I mean, I look like a traffic cone whenever I'm, walking up to the track because we're literally neon orange.
Yeah.
So,
do you know the Minion song, the papaya song?
Yes.
I figured with a kid, and then you probably just had to have heard it anyway if you're all things papaya.
Yes, I would say I'm surprised that we haven't, really honed into that to make that ours.
But you don't want to go crazy. That's why.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because my kids love that song. I swear. I was listening to it yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this now makes me think of Lauren and papaya for McLaren." Arrow McLaren has been a team for how long?
So actually, we are a pretty recent team. McLaren bought into Sam Schmidt-Peterson Racing, which was around since the early 2000s, I believe.
Okay.
But they bought in 2021 officially. So then kind of came all the resources of the McLaren brand. So it started out as like a 30-person racing team, and now we're at like 120.
Jeez.
So a lot of growth in the 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and how many years have you been there now?
I started midway through 2022, so about 2.5 years now.
Okay. So cool.
It's been fun.
It's such a
been
cool
a fun
job.
journey. Yes. I'm lucky because I don't sit in an office. I travel a lot for racing,
Yeah.
which can be a blessing and a curse. But yeah, I have to pinch myself when, I start to get stressed out by just like the day-to-day things that come up. And I'm like, we're sending cars around a racetrack. We're not saving lives. I can tone it down a bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, at a software job I had, we, sold software that was not life-changing. And we always joked like, well, we got mouths to feed. Like,
Right.
We're all like just trying to feed our families here. So
Yes.
we might not be saving lives, but we're doing something.
It puts things into perspective for sure.
Yeah. So where do you get to travel this year? Is the full schedule's out by now?
Yes, yeah. Actually,
I don't follow IndyCar super closely. I think I told you via email that I've actually been to an IndyCar race in Brazil.
right, which I was going to
know.
ask you about that because that's so
we can talk
wild.
about that at some point. But yeah, it's so random. So I for a hot second was interested and into it a little bit. I would work for the city. But yeah, otherwise don't really know a ton. So yeah, so the schedule is out, and so you just get the schedule and you get to travel all over the world. Are there how many international?
I wish it was a little bit more international. So right now
Okay.
there's one in Toronto.
Okay.
But used to be that it would be like in Tokyo, in Brazil, in Canada, all over the place. But since, I can't even say how long. So this is why I'm not a real race car fan because I don't know anything about the
anybody
history
listening
of
to
it.
this probably doesn't know anyway. I mean,
Fair
some
enough.
people
I
might.
could have looked like a real expert
Yeah.
here. But I don't know how long it's been since they've kind of gotten this new North America centralized schedule. But we had our first race 2 weeks ago in St. Petersburg. So it was nice to get out of Indiana in the cold,
Yes.
get down to some warmer weather. And then this coming weekend, we'll be in Thermal Club in Palm Springs, California.
See, that's not so bad either.
No, so
But
we
it's so
get,
far for, having a young kid.
But we get a good amount of travel throughout the U.S. And then up into Toronto. And so really now through the beginning of September, we're traveling nearly every other weekend for a race.
And you came to talk to me, Lauren. That's so nice of you. It's like your crazy time.
Well, it's a nice break away from cars racing to me racing.
Yeah, you're like, I can talk about running racing and running around tracks, which you told me that you do, like places you go. So tell people about that. That's really cool.
Yes. So the weekend for any IndyCar race or F1 too, they start with a track walk, which is time allocated where there are no cars on track, but it's for drivers to walk the track or go around like on a golf cart with their engineering team to like understand the apexes
Interesting.
and really get to know like where there are some concerns with the track that they need to be able to like engineer back toward for the driver. But I've actually used that since I started as a time where I get to run the track. I saw Will Power do it actually before I started working in racing. I was like, that would be so cool. If I ever worked in IndyCar, I would definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I was thinking there's going to be a few people that do it. No.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I was like, okay, who else? Do you have like a running club now?
I wish I could say that people thought that I was that cool that they followed along, but
They will.
every
Come on.
once in a while there's maybe 2 or 3 other people that join, but usually it's me running around the track. And if I can, the tracks are anywhere from like 2 miles to 4. So usually they're pretty flat, but some of them do have a little bit of elevation. And if I've got enough time in the schedule that I can run the track twice, I'll try to do that to really make it worth my while.
Right, yeah. Because like 2 miles, you're like, I can only run.
Yes. So I feel bad because whenever I go to a track and I don't have time to run it, people are like, hey, when are you going to put your tennis shoes on? You ready to run the track? And I was like, not today, actually, but I'll be out there next time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's a fun part of the job and one that I've kind of become known in the paddock as like the runner girl.
The runner girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and for people listening who have run the Indy Mini in Indianapolis that runs around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, well, at least I feel this way. It's the hardest part of the race.
Completely. Yes. That 2.5 miles that it's just you're baking on basically a parking lot.
It's like running around a skillet.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like and especially, obviously if it's warm, it's the first Saturday in May every year. And it is so hard, but it's so cool at the same time, especially for people who are local to Indianapolis.
Yes.
who are race fans. And even not, it's just this like, it's an amazing place to run.
It's pretty iconic because, that's the first weekend in May. And then, so it really kicks off this huge month in Indianapolis where everyone is bought into this racing culture. And they mean, come June 1, they probably don't think about it again.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the month, on the last Sunday of the month, 350,000 people go to that same track. And you're like, I just ran this, and I had a miserable time.
Yeah,
but here
it took me forever, and these cars are like just zipping around.
Yeah.
I think about that when I'm on there. I'm like, okay, so like it would just be a couple seconds.
Right. Yes. Yeah. How nice would that be?
That'd be really nice right about now. So how did you end up running last year with Tony?
Yes. So Tony was, he's been a runner. So he's done Ironmans in Hawaii and so forth. But someone from 500 Festival reached out to me to basically get Tony involved from more of a PR aspect.
Yeah.
And so he was like, sure, I can fit that in. I would love to run it. But will I be able to have someone that can come along to coordinate the interviews? Because we were going to start the morning with some interviews. He didn't think someone would actually like run the full thing with him, but like start the race, drive out to the track where there are going to be some more interviews, and then let him go finish it. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it with you. And he's like, okay, thinking like, I'll see you at the
Right, I'll just like
then
zip around and like be where you need me to be.
So as it got closer, he was like, I was talking to him about my training. He's like, oh, you're like really going to run it with me. I was like, yeah, how fast are you going to run it? If I can't like keep up with you, I'll figure it out.
Right.
But I'm not going to just wake up that early morning, go down and see all these runners and not join it myself.
Yeah.
So at the time at work, after he retired from racing, he actually became part of our team as like a team principal now, but he's had like 7 different positions since 2023. So he was now my coworker. And we had a lot of things that we were kind of like building into the month of May, so there was just a lot to talk about. We ended up using the 13.1 miles as a meeting. So for the entire, I think we finished right around 2 hours. We were talking about work the entire time outside of his interviews. Yes.
Okay, that's way less fun than I imagined, Lauren. You should tell people, no, like we were, I don't know what else, but.
Well, it would get interrupted every once in a while when you hear these like, fans erupt.
Of course.
Go Tony,
yeah.
Is that Tony Kanaan? Which was a blast too. But we just chatted the entire time and it was super productive. We're like, all right, this is going to be our Saturday morning routine. Let's go out, run 13 miles,
right, and we'll
take care of the world's issues, and we're good.
See, my problem is I forget everything we talked about. Because like,
there was a little bit of that,
yes.
yes.
I feel like need to take notes somehow and like while I'm running so I don't forget. Because when I'm on the run and I have great ideas, that sucks because I usually forget what they were.
Same, yes. Yeah, I've always thought about that of like, can I just have like someone follow me so I can be like, write this down.
Exactly,
this.
yeah, you just need a third person to be like, okay, you listen and you like just type and run,
Exactly.
Yeah, you guys were it must have been just under 2 hours, around 2 hours, because we finished just under 2 hours. And I was like super proud because I was pushing for the first time ever with Ainsley's Angels.
You are amazing.
Thank you. It was a blast. You probably won't ever get a chance to do it now that you're in racing. But if you ever do, you could at a different race, but not necessarily the Indy Mini. Yeah. But yeah, wow. So yeah, seeing you, I actually do think I spotted Tony before they said his name and like kind of did a double take. And then and then I was like, no, that really is so wild. That had to be fun the whole time getting cheers. I felt it in a different way because I was Team Hope and I put it on the back of our shirts so that people knew the name like because you put it on the chair too, on the it's not a stroller and it's not like a wheelchair. I never know what to call it. Like a chariot. On the chariot.
I love that. That's a perfect name for it.
On the chariot, there's the name. But I was like, no, I want to put it on the back so people know.
Smart idea.
But that had to be so much fun that you're running with this celebrity, especially in Indianapolis, like kicking off May.
Yes, and that's honestly, for those who know Tony, he's gotten this reputation in Indianapolis for just being such a fan favorite and always willing to give his time. And that's so true. Even running, it's why it took us 2 hours was because he would stop and like give high fives and chit chat with people as they were,
so cool.
cheering him on. So it was neat because also in that race, there's this lull where it seems like there's no fans from mile 10 through 12.
Yeah, that's a tough part.
And even for that, while they were a little bit less condensed,
you
still had like everyone cheering Tony on. I was like, well, I'm just going to take those cheers on as my own to
right.
keep me motivated.
Right. You're like, well, I'm here. It's kind of cool though, because you're like, I'm the one like running with him. I think that would be just so cool.
It was something.
But you stopped halfway at the track and did interview stuff?
Yes, yeah. So he had an interview with, I think it was WTHR,
That's so funny.
with Dave Calabro, and then also ate a donut and then finished.
Of course, the donut's there. I've never actually eaten one there, but I probably should sometime.
I don't think I could do it.
I don't think I
guess
could,
if I
wow.
was just going to do like a walk, run the rest of the way, but otherwise I'd just be destroyed.
Yeah. No, I've eaten a donut hole once. It was like mile 23 or something of a marathon. I ate a donut hole. And I was like, this is
that's
either like
great.
the best idea or the worst, but it sounded really good. So that's just like had to happen. Yeah. So that's so fun. So like in the middle, you're doing work and then you're just having a work meeting, hanging out.
Yeah.
Now, was it your first time doing the Indy Mini?
No, I had done it 3 times before.
Okay. So you're like, oh, I'm a pro too. And how many times had Tony done it? Because he's done it
About
a
that
handful.
many or so.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was the first time he's done it that he wasn't racing.
Okay.
So he's done it and then, was
Do you know what
training
his
for racing.
PR is?
That's a great question.
expect
think
you
it's
to know
just
that.
under 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like he could run faster than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the day. He likes more of the endurance runs.
Yeah.
So I
being
think
an Ironman, my God.
yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, totally crazy. And I could talk about this forever. Like, and we'll come back to the Indy Mini stuff too. But you were a collegiate athlete
Yes, yeah.
and not a runner.
Not a
But tell the
runner.
people. Tell the people.
So I was a pole vaulter in college.
So crazy.
But always loved running. In fact, my coach would tell me, like, you need to stop running distance for your workout. Because, like, we go home for summer breaks or winter breaks, and I would do that instead of, the gymnastics or the strength training. And she's like, no, like, keep on your regimen. Stop your
stop running.
5-mile runs. They'll be waiting for you after college.
Wow, that's funny. So you're from where? St. Louis area or?
I'm from St. Louis on the Illinois side.
Okay.
And then moved to Indianapolis 10 years ago.
Okay.
So went to school in Southeast Missouri State University called Cape Girardeau is the town.
Okay. Sounds super cool.
It was fine. There's a reason a lot of people don't know about it.
Cape Girardeau. I mean, but it does. It sounds really cool.
Gone Girl, have you seen that
Yeah.
movie or read the book?
Okay, yeah.
So that was
Both.
set in Cape Girardeau.
Cool.
So-
See, it is cool.
It was kind of neat. My last year living there, they were filming the movie. I was not spotted as like an extra or anything, so I have no cool stories other than seeing like, oh gosh,
I don't know
was
her
it Ben
name.
Affleck, I think was.
Oh, yeah, he
one
was
of
the
actors?
husband. Yeah.
So I saw him.
Oh, that's
at some
cool.
Point, so
Yeah, so I went to Tangent. I went to Miami of Ohio, and they
okay.
filmed a movie with Ryan Gosling and George Clooney after I graduated. I was very
just missed it.
disappointed.
Okay.
And I actually still haven't watched that movie, so I forget which one it is too.
I was
So
gonna
I'm-
ask.
but I was like, well, I'm not there, so it's not as cool. So did you get a scholarship for pole vaulting too, right? To go.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So it was all by my dad's design.
Okay.
I was a mid-distance runner in high school, and I worked with a strength and conditioning coach. And one day the track was closed, so he was trying to think of a different workout that I could do, and instead the pole vault runway was open. So he was going to have me just do sprint drills on the runway. My dad was like, I mean, if she's interested in trying pole vault, why don't you just switch the workout to do that today? Because there's more scholarships that she could get.
Right, because it's more of an obscure sport that
Exactly.
not, yeah.
And especially back in 2005 when this was all happening. And so I did some pole vault drills that day, fell in love with it, and switched from being a mid-distance runner to a pole vaulter.
That's so crazy. Tell people what pole vaulting is, because I hear the word vault and I'm like, okay, that's obviously not the gymnastics vault, but it's where you go over a bar. Tell us what it is.
So you have call it 10 to 14 foot, depending on how good you are at the time, fiberglass pole.
Okay.
That you sprint as fast as you can. You have to accelerate every step, and you plant the pole at a diagonal angle into this basically box, and it will bend and basically repel you up and over. And you have to kind of turn your body upside down to flip over the bar, which is, for beginners, start out, call it 7-8 feet, but all the way to the world record now, which is 22, 23
God,
feet.
that's all I think
or
about is the
something.
guy in the Olympics, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah, with the
Insane. Yeah,
So,
I was not that.
Okay. But yeah, going that high. I mean, God. Okay, but you're flinging yourself into the air.
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And everything about it is just trying to push whatever step you are to the limit. So you're trying to run faster, you're trying to plant harder, you're trying to get further upside down, and then you're trying to push off the pole to get over.
Well, and there's a technique probably as you're flying over so that none of your body parts hit it and knock it over.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so it's very technical. Also kind of like messes with your mind because you're like running until all of a sudden you're like immediately stop when the when the pole hits the box. But then you have to keep that momentum going in a different direction.
That is wild, Lauren.
It was pretty insane. And the thing about it is like people are like, oh my gosh, like do you miss it? It's like, yeah, you do, but you're not just going to pick up a pole and like go outside today on my lawn.
You should. Well, I mean, you should go to a track where there is one and just be like, okay, I just want to dabble here. Just show them what's going on.
Then I'd be no longer the runner girl, but the crazy girl.
The crazy girl who's just like pole vaulting everywhere. What do you land on?
It's a huge mat.
Okay.
So like think of like big styrofoam block.
Yeah. Okay. So. Actually, I should know that. I did high jump for like a hot second.
It's a big high jump mat.
It's like kind of like high jump in a way. Except it's a lot more impressive in my opinion. But I remember having to do the technical like of the steps, like how you had to kind of count almost like a dance. And then I can't really imagine running as fast as I possibly can and then like stopping and launching myself in the air. How is the box have like sand in it or something that like absorbs that?
No, that's the thing. It's metal. It's a metal box that you just like clunk it in. So it just
kind of flings around in there.
It's weird.
Do you miss the box? Like, do you ever miss it? Like with the pole?
Every once in a while, like you could go right above it. And so then your pole will go into the mat. Okay. So, I mean, it's not good, but it's also not going to kill you.
Okay, yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so wild.
Yeah.
So wild.
It was fun.
So, I mean, yeah, that's really cool. And what were the highlights of your collegiate career as a pole vaulter?
So I was not so great. The problem was I went to SEMO. They had a great coach that recruited me. And over the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year, he left. And so then they just had me working with me and my teammates working with a long jump coach who did not know anything about pole vault. She just knew like to run fast and jump. So from a performance standpoint, there were not a lot of highlights because I basically peaked in high school and then I was like just getting by.
Yeah.
But being part of a team. And I mean, you get that in running too, whenever you've got a group that you're running with every morning. Yeah. It's just like the stories, the unexpected like relationships that you build. Those were always just so fun and getting to travel a lot for races at that point. Yeah. So I went to a smaller school in Missouri. It was still D1. But got to, compete at IU, got to compete at Purdue, compete at University of Missouri and down in Ole Miss. Yeah. So those types of things were like
pretty cool.
I don't deserve this. Like, how am I competing at this level?
Yeah. I mean, being a D1 college athlete, who cares? You got there and did that. I mean, talking to people on this podcast can be different because I've talked to some collegiate runners who were super talented. But for the most part, this is a crew of just like average people who like to run. And so from where I'm sitting, like that is really freaking cool and so impressive.
Well, I was never felt like I was like at the caliber of a D1 athlete, but I did it, made it all through the 4 years, and now my parents just really love that they didn't have to pay for my college
education.
That's
a huge bonus. Yeah. And what did you study in college?
I studied mass communications and Spanish.
Okay. Oh, and Spanish. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. I just broke my Duolingo streak not that long ago that was over 400 days, and it made me very sad.
That's impressive. I mean, you should be proud of what you got to, but get back on it.
I know. I'm on day like 20.
Okay.
I did start again once the whole social media with Duolingo. I am a sucker for good marketing, as I'm sure you are as well. Yes. And so I was like, fine, I'll restart my Duolingo streak because
they did it for you.
Yeah, they did.
That's why.
So anyway, I digress. Okay. And so what was your first job out of school?
So I stayed actually after I graduated, and that's the only reason I got to see the Gone Girl.
Oh.
Because it was actually after I graduated. But I stayed and worked as an admissions counselor.
Okay.
So basically recruiting high school students to the university and focused on athletes.
Okay, so that's cool.
The football coach, basketball coach, track coach would work with me as they were talking to the athletes that they wanted to recruit to. And recruited them for 2 years.
And that kind of then obviously, launched the rest of your journey in really like the sports world.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
right? Because you went to the NCAA after that?
Right. Yep. Yeah. So moved to
Indianapolis. And that's what got you here.
To work for the NCAA. They have an awesome postgraduate internship program that's a year long that I did and really fell in love with the city. So at that point I was like, all right, I can either work in college athletics, hopefully here at Indy, or stay in Indy and find something else.
Yeah.
So I stayed in Indy and worked for Republic Airways.
That's right.
And so did almost the exact same thing as an admissions counselor. I recruited pilots at college campuses for the airline.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were at Republic for a long time. So that was kind of your foray like out of sports. But still, like that's a really unique industry to work in too.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that, like, as a kid, it's like, okay, if I want to work in the airlines, I guess I'll become a pilot. Well, that was not going to happen for me. I just don't have the mind for it. But to work for an airline in Indianapolis is super unexpected, but also a really fun career because I love to travel. I got to stay kind of united with the college campuses if I wasn't going to work there in athletics, and get to travel for free as well with their flight benefits. So it was a good
because they work with major airlines, and so you get to travel through those partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like a code share partner for American, Delta, and United.
Okay.
So
it
was a pretty good perk.
That's really cool. And have you ever flown? Like an airplane, like piloted a plane?
Yes, so Republic started a flight school, but also as I was recruiting every once in a while, like the flight instructors would, have extra flight blocks available, and so I'd go up with them and take a few lessons. So I think technically I've got like 14 hours in my logbook.
Oh, there you go.
But
it's 14 hours more than I have.
It's probably not going to help me at any point because I still would not land the plane or anything else. They just have to tell me exactly the button that I have to push. Like, okay, red button, push that now.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can do that.
You're like, I don't really know why, but I can follow those instructions. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then how did this opportunity with Arrow McLaren come about?
So talk about the power of networking and kind of reaching out to people on social media.
Hey, there we go. Way to bring it back.
Yes. That worked for me too. So take your shot.
Yeah.
Jody Scott, she actually was the lead recruiter at Republic, call it 10 years ago. She hired me at Republic, and then she was then head of HR at Arrow McLaren. And so I saw that she posted about it on LinkedIn. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I should just, say hello to her and see how her job's going. So I did that and was just like, also, I just had my daughter at that point who is 6 months old, and working for the airline at that point in crisis comms was overwhelming my world because every time I'd get home from work, there would be some sort of issue that I'd have to, log back on and address with the media. So I was kind of itching to get out of that at that point. And Jody said, hey, I don't know if you'd be looking for a job, but we have one coming up that will be open in a month if you're interested in staying in touch. And so I was like, absolutely, that sounds good. I don't know if you know, but I don't know anything about motorsports. However, let's chat. And
but I'm teachable, yeah.
Yeah. And so 2 months later, had my first day at Arrow McLaren, and show goes on.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a wild 2.5 years. Working for a race team is, like I said, not something that I ever had my sight set on, but it's a really fun job. It got me back into sports too, a different type of sports than I ever expected. But yeah.
But still able to weave in, your love of running, again, back to running around the track, which I just still think is so cool. And the marketing side of it. I've seen, now that I follow you on Instagram, I've seen some of the video footage of these events and stuff you do for the brand and the team. And so could you talk a little bit about that and how you come up with these ideas and pull them off? It's so cool.
Yes, yeah. So like I said, the McLaren brand is so powerful because it's a global brand, whether you like the racing or you like the sports cars. So we have a lot of brand power that we get to kind of use in ways to pull off big events, but also get other people bought into what our ideas are and help them, whether it's funding or whether it's, opening their spaces to us to be able to use. We actually, a fun one that we just did, I've got a team of 14 that are range from social media to communications to events and experiences. And we just did our car launch. So basically every race season you have a new design on your car. And we wanted to expose that in a big way. So we took over the pier in St. Pete, and it was beautiful, golden glow of the sunset, and
so cool.
Had Tony Kanaan as the MC of it. Our drivers were there, and we had our 3 race cars, basically propped on this terrace in front of this immaculate restaurant at the end of the pier, and did an unveil event for maybe 200 guests, ranging from partners to media to fans. And it was just so awesome to see an idea that we had of okay, can we get this to come to life? And it really did. And we had drone footage of it. We had Fox that kind of covered the event as well. So a really fun way to start the season, but also bring our brand to places that people don't expect it. And in marketing, that's everything that you want to do is you want to make people see your brand in places that they don't expect it to come alive.
Cool.
So that's just one example of the different things that we can do with the brand. And our drivers' personalities, Tony being one of them. They come to life in the most unexpected ways. Actually, a fun one that I got to work on, which was not because of me by any means, but we had one of our drivers, Pato Award, in a Super Bowl commercial this year. And that was like a once-in-a-life opportunity that I still have to like pinch myself to say I had the smallest part in writing the script for it. Fox wrote it. They sent it to us to be able to say, what do you think? And we got to contribute back to it. So that was amazing. And I will certainly put that on my resume.
Yeah, as you should. You tried to tell me you don't have a cool life. I don't understand. So, yeah, that is so amazing.
It was pretty neat.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, wait, what brand was that commercial for?
It was for IndyCar.
Okay, for IndyCar.
Yeah, to promote the season as well as the Indy 500. And Fox is now the new broadcaster for the series, so you can watch all the races on Fox. This is the plug for IndyCar. You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember seeing that. I think I told you I saw it. I was like, wow, look at us getting some huge, I mean, that's a huge stage. The biggest, really.
It was amazing exposure. And just to see that, as it's not just here in Indy. I mean, it is nationwide.
Right.
People, 127 million viewers, are seeing this commercial of one of our drivers and our brand.
Yeah, that's huge. And who are your other drivers? How many? 3?
3 drivers. We've got Pato Award, who is kind of the guy in IndyCar, has been with us for 5 years, so he's a veteran, but also only 25 years old, which is crazy. Whoa. And then Christian Lundgaard is new to our team. Okay. He's 23. And then we've got Nolan Siegel. He started the season with us midway through the season last year, and he's 20. So I feel like I'm like their grandma.
I know. Yeah, because it sounds like we're a similar age. If you were 05 college, what year did you graduate from high school?
Graduated from high school in 07.
Okay, I was 04.
Okay.
So, I'm older. Look who you're calling grandma now. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I would feel like that around 20-year-olds for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And Pato, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Okay, so what country is he from? What national?
Mexico.
Okay, Mexico. So do you speak fluent Spanish since you studied it?
I can, but it's like riding a bike. Well, it's not like riding a bike, actually. I kind of lose a little bit of the fluent jargon, but I can speak it if I need to.
Yeah.
So I can understand what he says, but sometimes I'm slow at the responses.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I can understand quite a bit of Spanish because I have a decent vocabulary, but the speed at which they speak, I'm just like, okay, I caught one word of that.
Right.
And that's not going to help me. So, yeah. And then trying to give me like 5 minutes to form a sentence in my head. But yeah, but that's pretty cool that you have that and that he's on the team. And that, I mean, that has to help with your relationship with him.
Absolutely.
So do you obviously you work for Arrow McLaren as a whole as vice president of marketing communications. What is that? How do you work with the individual drivers? Do they each have their own like media person then designated to them as well, like you did for Tony?
Yeah, they do. And so since I started my role in that, I was started as director of communications, so I was assigned the drivers and their media relations. But then since got the promotion to now the whole commercial department. But I've retained one role during the race weekend of basically being their press officer.
Gotcha.
So now I work with Christian Lundgaard as he's getting onboarded to the team, is to make sure that he kind of understands our talking points, how we want our brand reflected, et cetera. So,
and what's Arrow part of the team?
Arrow Electronics.
Okay.
So they're a electronics company that really is kind of like the IoT, so the Internet of Things for technology. So they'll find a company that needs a technology solution that links them to another company. So they're really big into B2B, just connecting one tech company to another and finding like the best solution.
Yeah.
And they are based out of Denver, but they're our title partner.
Okay, yeah. And have they been the title partner since the inception of the team, or does it change names? It would then change names based on the title partner?
It would, yes, but they've been a long-time partner, so since 2021.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. What are you most excited about this year for the season?
I mean, the Indy 500 is great because I get to, one, sleep in my own bed, not traveling for a month.
Yeah.
But also, I think we've got a strong team going into it, and it's just fun to know that, like, my friends who are here in Indy, like, they care about it for that month.
Yeah.
After May, they're like, okay, well, what do you do the rest? I'm like, we still have our full season to go.
Yeah, this is like just one little part of this whole big season. Yeah, that is pretty cool because for that weekend, you are like, you are in it.
Yes.
So walk us through what Memorial Day weekend is like for you working in IndyCar.
Yeah, so really the full month, my daughter, I mentioned, she's 3. So I drop her off in my, safety cone outfit to daycare. And then I will see her the next morning whenever she wakes up. So I'm really at the track every day for the month of May. But then it starts with carb day. So that is the last day that the cars are on track before the big race. And it is really this concert, cars on track. So kind of a party out at the racetrack. And then Saturday, there's a lot of partners that come into town. So we do kind of this blowout cocktail hour with them where they can meet the drivers, get to really experience Indianapolis because they're coming in from out of town through that full day. And then early to bed, or as early as I can, because at 2:30, I'll wake up on Sunday morning, drive to the track by 3, and basically all to beat traffic.
Right.
So then I sit there and I just kind of make sure that I'm reading the news coverage for the day, getting myself prepped for what the drivers will need to do for their interviews. But then slowly but surely, you see more and more people, more and more traffic coming to the track. 6 a.m., this cannon goes off and people will run to their campsites and everything like that. Because the track officially opens.
Yeah.
And from there on out, it's all hands on deck. So you're running from one place to another with the driver. You're working with partners, making sure that they're set up in the suite and enjoying themselves. And then the fanfare starts with the national anthem, the driver introductions, the fighter jets flying overboard. And I get the nerves whenever I run a race. And so the goosebumps and everything, the shortness of breath before I start a race. Yeah. I feel that same thing.
That's so
and
great.
I'm I don't have anything to do with this. I'm just here. But it's that same adrenaline because it's such a big deal. And there's 350,000 fans around you and they're watching what you do every day for your job.
Right. It's so wild. So where are you? Are you in the pits?
I'm in the
standing
pits,
in there with everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wear a headset like this, and I'm in the pits listening to our driver communications to the engineers and basically there for any support from media and what they need to know as they're pushing the broadcast out. So it's kind of fun, except whenever they crash. And then I'm running over to emergency care center to make sure that our driver's walking and nothing's life critical or anything like that.
What's the worst you've seen for your team?
In racing, nothing beyond a broken bone. Last year,
that's crazy.
Yes, Alexander Rossi broke his thumb. So that was more we didn't think that it was that bad. He, hit the wall and we're oh, that's, he's going to go to the medical center, but he'll be back in the car tomorrow. Yeah. And then he was out for 6 weeks. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, oh, wow. You just never know what's going to happen.
Truly, yes.
Yeah. It's so wild. So exciting.
Yeah.
It gets me fired up. Even
Good.
though
so
I'm
we'll see you trackside in May?
Exactly. Well, at least at the Mini. And I want to circle back. Well, look at that. Circle back to how you ended up running a half marathon in the first place.
Yes.
How your relationship with running started. Obviously as a middle distance runner when you were young.
Yes.
But now back, being an adult, how did you end up getting back into running half marathons? Have you run a marathon? I want to know more about that.
So after I graduated from college, I wanted to figure out what my next step was to either stay in shape or just stay busy. So running was definitely one of them. And then I kind of dabbled in golf, although that's not really worth talking about. But I had a great running community in the 2 years that I lived in Cape Girardeau after graduation, where each morning at 5 a.m. we would meet at the park. It was a half mile from my apartment. And we would run anywhere from 5 to 7 miles in the morning. And it was an awesome running community. I wish I could say that I found that strong of a group that was that consistent here in Indy. I just haven't put the effort myself into it. I know that they're out there, but it was an amazing transition for me from having a coach that dictated my workouts to then me having a group that held me accountable just to show up in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
And so did that and signed up for my first half marathon a year after I graduated. Did that down in Oxford, Mississippi.
Okay.
And fell in love with the thought of running long distance. So, running more than just 5 to 7 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will say I've never been a really consistent racer because for me, running is such an enjoyment. I don't want to feel that I'm stressed to, hit a time. I did that long enough competing in college.
Yes.
That now, I want to run because I felt good that morning and just want to get out there.
Yeah.
And enjoy the weather, really. So I have not done many half marathons. I've maybe done definitely under 10, probably around like 7 to 10.
Okay.
But every once in a while I'll get like the itch and I'll be like, all right, what's out there? What's a nice place to run?
Yeah.
Nice weather. So I've done half marathons kind of like sporadically, but a lot here in Indy or Carmel. And
Okay.
when I moved to Indianapolis, I signed up for the Monumental Marathon.
Okay.
I can't remember what year the first one was. It probably was like 2015.
Okay.
And I did all the training by myself. I was like, I don't want to set expectations for myself. I just want to go out there and run it. I think my time was 2:34.
Okay.
So I just hit like the mark of the Boston qualifier, but it was the year or two after like the bombing. So the time, even though you hit the time for the qualifying, you didn't actually qualify.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
know?
wait, back up. So you did the full Monumental,
Yes. Yeah.
and you ran it in 2:30.
Sorry, 3:34.
Well, I was like,
3:34.
okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. No.
Because my brain was like, does not compute. But still, 3:34
3:34. Yeah.
that is cooking.
Like I had no expectation. I didn't know what I was going to do because I was just running by myself.
You did it yourself, right? Your training. So like, what did you do? Like Google? You use Hal Higdon? Like what? How did you?
No, I wish I could say it was that scientific. I was just like, all right, if I know I'm going to run 26 miles, I probably need to get up to like 22 miles or so. Yeah. So every weekend I would just go out and add another mile. And
Sure.
I didn't time myself. So
Okay, this is another thing we need to discuss.
Yeah.
The watch. This gives me anxiety, Lauren.
No watches. But yeah, I until I got to like mile 18, I did not wear a watch. But then I just wanted to wear a watch because I was like, I don't know, like I want to time myself because like I want to get home. I don't want to be out here all day. So let me like just make sure I know what time it is. But I was basically like calculating my run on like Strava or whatever beforehand, routing it out.
And then just going
and doing it.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
And having no idea what your splits were.
Nope. I had no idea. Other than like, okay, I started at 7 a.m. I got home at 9. That sounds good.
How freeing does that sound? It just really makes me crazy. But like the idea of just running to run, the concept is hard. And I'm not competitive with anybody besides myself, really, right? But still, I'm competitive with myself. Like I can't imagine not wearing my watch for a run. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like it would be a good exercise for me to just like do that. I did make myself stickers to put over the face of my watch.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So that like on easy runs, I don't have to, like I just don't look at it. And I've gotten better now where I don't need to look at it. Like I used to be like, okay, how, And you don't listen to music either.
I don't listen to music. I purely just go out there to run and enjoy it. But also I run in the morning, so I don't want to like not be able to hear something
safety.
or whatever. So
Yep,
safety-wise,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so I kind of like cut you off because I just was like, what the hell? Because you had mentioned that you qualified for Boston, but they added time. Go back and say that again.
Yeah, so sorry. I'm not that good of a runner. I was not 2:34.
Well, I was just like, wait, it was the full and
Yeah, so that marathon came about just because I was like, oh, let me try it. I'll go out and do it. But ran 3:34, so I qualified by the time.
Yes.
But they had so many runners that had met the qualifying time that it ended up being like 3:31 or whatever that you actually needed.
Right.
So didn't qualify for that. But then a few years later.
Did you care?
Oh, yeah. I was like really mad.
Because I feel like, you're just like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to plan. Not going to wear a watch. But you're like, no, but I would have loved to run Boston.
Yes. So then I was like, okay, if I run Boston, then I will train. Okay. I will like actually wear a watch.
So did you know going into the full marathon that there was a Boston qualifying time you could hit?
Yes, because by like my runs at like 18 onward, I was like, oh, I mean, I guess doing the math, I could be close.
Wow, yeah.
But it wasn't like that's my goal. It was just like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So then fast forward a few years, 2019, I ran the Monumental again. And that time I was like, all right, I do want to qualify. And I think I can at least hit, because I had the extra 5 minutes because I was in the next age group.
Right.
So qualified in 2019 with, 3:29.
Wow.
And hit the qualifying time, but then COVID hit.
This episode is brought to you by Previnex. Previnex provides clinically effective supplements that promote longevity, performance, and everyday health. So when I packed for this staycation for the Indy Mini, I packed all my Previnex stuff, but I forgot my microphone. So if you were wondering why I sound like I'm in an echo chamber. Anyway, the important things, right? So if you're going to be at our event for the Indy Mini, the founder and CEO of Previnex, David Block, will be in attendance. So make sure you meet him, because when you do, his passion for Previnex is so apparent and contagious, frankly. And I'm lucky that I got introduced to him and these products because I love the Gut and Greens. I take it every day. That's why I brought it with me. It helps give me natural energy that I know that I need, and I need it to make it through this weekend too. If you want to try the products and you're not coming to our event, where you will get both flavors of their Neurify protein powder and a blender bottle, you can visit their website at previnex.com, which is PREVINEX.com. And you can use code ALLY, ALLY 15 for 15% off your first order. For 15% off your first order. Thank you so much to David and Previnex for supporting this podcast and supporting our event.
So qualified in 2019 with 3:29.
Wow.
And hit the qualifying time, but then COVID hit. And
son of a gun.
So they postponed it. And then there was something going on. I can't remember whenever you finally got to run it again. But they shrunk the size.
That's right. Yeah.
So then again, it went below my qualifying time by who could actually run it.
That's so annoying.
Have qualified technically twice, but haven't done it. So I have to do it again.
Yeah. I mean...
But I'm kind of like, man, it's the running the marathon's not the bad part. It's the training, which you're talking to
the right person there. With young kids, well, and for you having a very demanding job where you like need to be places, like you gotta travel, or you're at events, like you've got to be there. Versus like people with flexible jobs, like me, I can run whenever I want and need to. Right? What a blessing. Right. But it's just the idea of throw in some marathon training in the mix.
Right.
But, could you do that in the off season?
Yes.
And then run in the spring and then that, but I guess you're gearing up for the season. So that's also probably a pretty busy time.
Although at least I'm home. But the problem is the off season is, let's see here, September through March.
Okay.
So most of the off season is like crappy weather here.
Well,
in
you'd
Indy.
have to run in the winter, which I have not done a spring marathon for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I feel like training in the winter is really hardcore.
It's not fun in Indy. I mean, because then you think like, okay, even if I can run in the cold, the day that you're going to do your long run, it's like probably going to ice that day, and then you're going to break your ankle. So
right. So I mean, I've done long runs on my treadmill for this reason, because I just kind of I'm like, oh well, I'll just run inside and watch a movie.
Yeah, I cannot run on a treadmill. No way.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that. I just can. Thankfully.
I'm amazed by that.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily choose it for anything over 10 miles because it's brutal. Like, it does get a little boring, but it's how I get in all my garbage TV.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, okay. So you qualified for Boston twice. Have you done any other full marathons besides Monumental? So those are the two
just
full.
Monumental. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Yeah, then I joined the board, not 2020, the year after. So did I join in? No, it would have been 21. It was 21 because I left my job at the end of 2020 because the pandemic year. And then, 21, I joined the board. So, you're going to have to come back and do Monumental at some point. But, like, how?
I'll get there at some point, yes.
Got time. And I feel like what's crazy is you get faster as a mom. It's, to me, I always thought, like, before kids was my peak.
Right.
But it's just not the case.
Women are amazing. It blows my mind how many women get faster as they age. And I don't know if it's your body makeup or you're just tougher because you've had a baby. I think that's part of it, yeah. Your threshold is more than what you thought it was beforehand.
Yeah, totally.
It's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so Margot just turned 3, so you became a mom in 22?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah.
Yeah, all right. And so in between then, you'd run half marathons. Which ones have you done locally here? You mentioned Carmel. Have you done Carmel?
I've done the Carmel.
Okay.
I've done the Monumental. I've done actually those.
Okay.
And I've just split between both of those.
And then out of state, the Mississippi one?
Done Mississippi. I've done Lake of the Ozarks.
Cool.
One in St. Louis and Cape Girardeau as well.
Okay.
So, ran them all Midwest-ish.
Yeah. Okay. So Mississippi, was that really hot?
It was in February, so
Okay,
it's perfect.
so it's nice. That'd be cool.
Yep.
And then Lake of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Is
it
it
was a
really?
good
Is
one.
it hilly?
Honestly, not so bad because you run a lot over like the reservoir. So you're running across the dam and back.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an incline, but not bad.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I feel like I love the show Ozark too,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I've been there
so
since
good.
then, and it's just like, wow, this is a wild place, really.
Yes, yeah, and the terrain, yeah, for a runner. I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting some hills.
Yeah, yeah. So qualifying for Boston at some point would be cool.
Yes, yeah.
Are there other races like that you really want to do?
Yes, but it's like even for the Mini, I haven't registered yet. Like I'll register whenever I see the like notification.
You'll
of,
run
like-
this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Come push. Oh, I can recruit you.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
I don't know if I'm strong enough for that.
Oh, get out of here. You just said, you are. You are a mom.
I mean, it would be amazing, but when I run with my 20-pound daughter, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, okay, so you stroller run?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it is a whole nother level.
It
and
is
I
wild.
feel like people think that it's really hard to push somebody, but it's the chariots are like really lightweight. Like they make them really
Really?
efficient, right? Like
I think
so
that
it's not as
actually
bad
could
as
be
you would
fun.
think, right? It's easier than you would think. I feel like, except for that one hill going into the speedway. That's
Oh yeah.
I just my strategy was just to sprint up it as fast as I could to just get it over with.
Yes.
I was like, this is
Don't
the hardest
slow
part.
down.
Just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is how every time I sign up for a race goes. It's like I have no plans, and then all of a sudden someone's like, "Just do this with me." I'm like, "Okay, sure, sounds
Good.
great."
You're one of the. I like that.
So-
I like people who are just like, yeah, okay, sign me up.
That's how I've done pretty much every race.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
Next thing
Great.
you'll see me with the
Can't
chariot in May.
Excellent. You'll be like right next to me. I'll be like, yay, got her to do it. Yeah, because there's a race that weekend for IndyCar.
Yes.
Do you travel for every race, or you don't have to travel for every race?
I travel for most.
Okay.
However, that one we have low presence from media as well as partners.
Okay.
So I don't need to go.
Okay.
But also Rev is that evening.
Right. Oh, I meant to
And-
ask you about Rev. Yeah.
And I'm on the board for that.
Okay.
So there's some representation that I have to have for my team at Rev.
Gotcha.
So-
That makes sense. Do you go to that event every year then?
I've gone for the
can?
past 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an event I've never been to here. I used to go to Zoobilation every year, which is for
Yeah.
non-locals. It's a zoo fundraiser that's a black tie that's like the event of the year. And I feel like Rev is like the other one.
Yes.
Like
exactly.
if there's two events, those are probably the two biggest events like that in our community. But Rev is actually at the Speedway.
Yes.
And it's
yeah.
the night after the Mini, because I feel like my running coach goes to Rev every year.
Yeah.
And I'm always just like, man, like, that's a double whammy. Get up, run a half marathon,
Yes. Have a late night.
have a late night. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a fun like whole day because it really does kick off the month of May.
Yeah.
But then Rev also features some of the best chefs in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So combining, running and then
Eating the
eating
best food.
It's a great day.
What else could you possibly want?
Right.
And so what's the setup of Rev?
So
place?
it's all through the pagoda,
Okay.
which is kind of like the plaza leading into the track. But they've got different chalets that they've got chefs set up all
Okay.
throughout those. But then also it's basically like one big weaving dance floor because all the way through the gates into
Mm-hmm.
the track, there's more food and drink. And then there's a DJ in the where they wave the flag.
Right, okay.
There's a DJ up there
That's
and a dance
cool.
floor on the track. By the time it gets to that point of the night, I'm usually like, all right, my feet are sore. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm going home.
I'm out.
But it is really neat. It's for a great cause, benefits IU Health and
Okay.
kind of the trauma center, but then also gives chefs this platform to market new dishes or market themselves. They're, kind of a startup restaurant to some of the city's most influential people.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. That's cool. Is the dance floor on the track by the bricks?
Yeah, on the Art of Bricks.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You just
Yeah,
dance
so
on the
there you go.
bricks. Yeah.
Put it on your bucket list. You got to go.
It would be nice. It would be really nice. I think I have a 40th birthday party to attend that evening this year, which I'm also like, oh, okay.
So, yes, find a nap at some point in the day.
Please, can I take a nap? It's hard because, asking, when you have a spouse and you're like balancing all the things, it's like one more thing. But then he could benefit from that as well, right?
There you go.
It's a fun event.
Yes.
So what does your husband do? And how did you meet?
He works for PNC.
Okay.
So he's in finance, which is great because his job is very much 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So he's busy, but also he is stable, whereas like I'm traveling and mine is very much not 9 to 5.
Yeah.
We met technically via Tinder.
Oh, this is fun. I love these stories too.
We were a Tinder match, but our first date was at Ralston's.
Okay.
Downtown Indianapolis.
I've never been there.
Oh, it's a fun place to like watch sporting events. It's got like shuffleboard and stuff.
Okay.
But we met there, but found out like we lived very close to each other. My good friend from work at the time was his neighbor. So we had a lot of like different weaving ways. And yeah, Tinder worked.
Thanks, Tinder.
Yeah. A plug for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so wild. But Indy is such a small, big town. Like it
truly is. Like the 2 degrees of separation, I think, is relevant.
Yeah, is wild. Yeah, that's really cool. And then Margot is your daughter's name. I don't know if we've said I think we've said Margot at some point during this conversation, but I just love that name. How did you pick the name Margot?
We wanted one that was not a traditional name at this point, but turns out she has 3 Margos in her preschool class.
Get the heck out of here.
So, yes. So it's not so original like we thought it would be. But we did kind of like a bracket, like an NCAA bracket with names for boys and girls. We didn't find out her gender. And it came down to, I think, Margot and I want to say like Penelope or something.
Also love that name.
It was 2 very out of the box, we thought out of the box names.
Yeah.
And Margot won.
That's fun.
So
that's really cool. So we breezed over this part of your story where you got an MBA during the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah. So worked for Republic Airways during the pandemic, which, like I mentioned to you, was like a story in itself of just the chaos. I mean, you talk about people wanting to still get where they needed to go, but also not be close to people whenever they're flying in these, metal tubes. And so the amount of like just stories that got blown out of proportion. I don't know if you recall, there was like a story on the Today Show a few years ago where there was like the seat back. The guy was shaking the seat in front of him, and they ended up like getting kicked off the plane. That was one of our flights. But I mean, they either like travel really well or they absolutely lose their mind whenever they're in an airport. So I had plenty of those fun stories. But I mean, COVID was all consuming for everyone, no matter what your job or just what your life was at home.
Yes, yeah.
And so mine was all consuming with like work. I didn't really have an outlet other than crazy stories from the airline. So I decided like I want to do something for me, something that's not necessarily for work. And it was getting an MBA at that point. What I didn't anticipate was getting pregnant with my daughter. But that did happen during about halfway through my master's program.
Wow, yeah.
And so it was mostly online, but we did have like fully interactive classes each night. And then I had 2 semesters left to go when Margot was born. And so finished that, but then also changed jobs from Republic to Arrow McLaren with 6 months to go left in the program. So yeah, it was chaotic. My poor husband, I mean, thank God that he is the most patient man in the world because I was losing my mind.
I mean, I don't understand.
He was like our rock. So we all made it through. We're stronger for it. But yeah, I graduated from Purdue with my MBA in 2022 at the end of the year.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's wild. Switching and adding like the switching jobs in there too.
Yes. Yeah, it was a lot going on. And so like sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I really learned other than survival from my MBA program.
I mean, which is pretty great lesson to be able to apply to life so that you can just survive, especially as a mom, a working mom, one that travels a lot. And
talk about like running being a source of like therapy.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't run very many long runs during that period, but anytime I could run, I was just so thankful for the time that I could get out, breathe, be in my own thoughts for a minute. And it was truly my therapy at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is your running routine like these days?
So I've realize that I'm a better runner if I'm able to balance it out with some sort of cross training, whether it's hot room yoga.
Oh, that's good. This is good for you and good for people listening who need to do more cross training probably.
Yes, yes. When I was doing both marathons, or actually when I did my first marathon, I just ran every day, got my miles in. The second one, I did more yoga through it. But now I do yoga. I've done Pure Barre for a year.
That is so hard.
It is hard. It's weird because my husband laughs at me because I don't sweat in Pure Barre. And he's like, I thought you said you were going to go work out. I was like, well, I did.
Yeah. Do you see my legs still shaking?
Right. But it's just like the smallest, most awkward motion.
Yeah.
That like you're working muscles that you're not when you're running. And so it's a good workout, but I do like now like judge myself.
It's funny.
Like,
yeah. I like to sweat when I work out too, but
yeah,
you get humbled by bar real quick. I'm saying this because I did my first bar class in a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
Via Peloton, so like in the comfort of my own home, but it was still like destroyed me. And a friend of mine, Ashley Haynes, who listens to this and has been on this podcast, she teaches bar, and I'm just like, and runs like 100-milers. No big deal. But I'm just like in awe, and like, how do you do that? I don't understand.
The run after you take a bar class is the worst because you're like, my body is sore in places that I never thought I'd be sore.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you do hot yoga?
There's a hot yoga studio downtown and then also uptown called the Hot Room.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's a great spot. And they're super runner friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, even on like monumental days, they're like, bring in your bib for a free class.
Oh,
so,
that's smart.
Yeah. They have really like catered to my running routine of like asking what mile I'm on, and then like give me like a few like stretches and things to do for running as well.
Yeah. So you mix it up a lot with cross training these days. Do you run how often?
So I try to run 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
Right now it's more like 2, but once the weather gets nicer, then I'll get out there on the weekends.
And you live in the Butler area, so like Broderpool-ish.
Yep. Yes.
Where is your running route?
So I like to run on Butler's campus a lot because, like I said, I run in the morning, so I want to make sure that I'm running where I feel like there's some like security buttons or even like security driving around.
Right.
So that puts my husband's mind at ease while
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
out there and
Exactly.
about.
Well, it is like, I mean, sadly, real thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at least too on a college campus, there's probably cameras too as well, and you can just
Exactly.
Yeah. And then so you usually run solo too. Mm-hmm. Solo, no watch, no music.
No.
Just like
alone in my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm giving you anxiety.
You
right
are
now.
like, but it's, it's really good anxiety. 'Cause it's like when I started this podcast, I was just in awe of people who could run without music. I was like, I could never. Mm-hmm. And then last year I did my first full marathon without headphones.
Really? Mm-hmm. How was it? Was it freeing?
It was fine.
Yeah.
I just realized that it kind of almost like a crutch. Like it's like, I need that to pump me up. It's like, I don't actually.
Yeah.
The environment, being more present. I mean, all of those things, being able to listen to my body better even.
Yes.
So I use headphones and I'll listen to like podcasts or audiobooks when I run. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll do music, but on shorter, easier runs, like I just realized I don't need it.
Yeah.
And it is pretty freeing.
It is nice.
But the whole no watch thing, I don't think I could do because of Strava. Because it's like, well, people need to know. Nobody cares, but people need to know that I ran today.
Yes.
It's so silly.
I have not done Strava for that reason because then I'm like, I think it goes back to me feeling like I was coached for so long.
Yeah.
That now running is not like a pressure that I have. I've got enough pressures with being a mom and everything. So this is my out. And if I don't judge myself as harshly because if I set out to do a 5-mile run and only get 4, it's like I may not even know.
And I'm like, and I run back and forth in front of my house to have even numbers. Right. You know what? I have given that up. I'm so proud to say. Like for the most part, like if I have a workout that's, 6 miles, I'll finish the 6-mile workout. And it might be like, a little more than that or not. But like other times where it's a workout, I don't run to complete the even number anymore, which it's a big win for me.
That's where I got into dangerous territory when I was marathon training is because like those later training runs, it was like, no, I've got to end on 0. I have to. And so I'd be like running a half a block longer and just trying to get to that 0 because I've already ran, 21 miles at this point. But if I don't get to 22, I will not finish the marathon. In my mind, like we're psychotic.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so you have a little bit of that in there, but you know how to keep it away by doing all the things that we've talked about, which is just, it's good. People need to know that that's possible, even though it sounds so silly to say. Because it's like, of course you can run without your watch. Of course you can run without music. Like,
yes.
I mean, of course you don't have to hit a pace. Like, nobody cares how fast you're running.
But if you're measuring it, you know you do.
I know. It's so hard. It's like, well, if we're being honest here.
Yes.
You know, but it's always good to kind of check yourself. And I find, too, that for me, like this year, I told my coach, I was like, you know what? This year is not the year of PRs for me. I PR'd the full marathon last year, put in a lot of hard work. I still want to put in hard work in my training, but take the pressure off and just enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, pushing with Angels and having that experience, and like I'll do some pacing, I'm sure, this year, and like just finding other ways to enjoy the race experience besides like staring at my watch and trying to see if I can PR.
Yes, setting your own milestones.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's so perfect. Thank you. You are a brilliant marketer. So I probably have to ask you the end of the podcast questions now.
All right, let's dive into them.
Yeah, which
this
is
quick.
sad. I just want to keep talking to you forever. First is, what is your favorite mantra and or song? Which song, since you don't listen to music, it could be like one that comes on that's like your pump up song. I don't know.
So I'm a big like one more block. So I city runner run by blocks. So as I'm finishing up, I like just basically count backwards of how many blocks that I have. And so I will out loud tell myself, all right, Lauren, 5 more blocks, 4 more blocks. You got this. And so that's my mantra. That's what
One
keeps
more
coming
block.
to my Yep.
Okay. And then your next finish line or milestone. It sounds like you might be at the Indy Mini.
Yeah, maybe pushing.
Maybe pushing with Angels Angels. I don't know. Yeah.
I think realistically that will be my next race. But now I'm kind of like, this talk's got me itching for like something.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
I'll probably go online tonight and try to figure out what is like
else is
the next place I'm traveling to that I can fit a race in or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool if somehow like around a travel race that you're like, oh, if there's like a half marathon or even like a 10K or something out, you know, it's a great way to see where you are, which I still think it's so cool to like run around. Do you like keep track of which speedways you've run around, like which tracks you've done?
Yes, I try to do all of them. I didn't get, but like I said, the schedule sometimes puts it back. But I think I've got like 2 more tracks on our calendar that I haven't run yet. So goal is to hit those this year. Yeah, just to say that I've done the entire season.
Right.
Then of the races,
which is so cool. I feel like there could be such a cool thing with like doing running events on tracks. Like,
absolutely.
Tied with the, you know, but that would be, gosh, your brain, you're just like, no more events. You know.
Well, speaking of, we're actually trying to work with Portland to do one of those because that's where Hoka is located, and our team's sponsored by Hoka, so we want to partner with Hoka to do a run on the track there.
Dude, that would be so cool.
It would be amazing.
That's got to happen. That'd be really, really cool. When would that be? What time of year?
That will be middle of August.
Okay, so that could happen this year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're working on it. So hopefully we can make it happen.
TBD. Yeah, that's really exciting. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. And then, anything else coming up this year, like big milestones?
I mean, I think that's it. But if I can sign up for a race, that will be a milestone. Yeah. I probably won't hit Monumental this year. But, I mean, honestly, if I can just get into a half marathon and do it, probably do it without a watch.
Okay, what is your half marathon PR?
So I was trying to look it up before, but I couldn't find my second most recent mini. But I think it's 142.
Okay.
I think somewhere in there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me today. It was so much fun. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you after stalking you. And now we can be real friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And thank you to everybody who has listened to this. And happy
Hopefully you
running.
heard most of it.
Hopefully you heard most of it. We'll find out. Dear Lord, please.
So
much for being lucky on St. Patrick's Day.
Right. We did something to mess up the leprechaun.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode of Finish Lines and Milestones from Sandy Boy Productions, please share, rate, review. Again, I'll be at the Indy Mini Expo all day today if you listen to this on May 2nd, so please come say hello. And if you are running the Indy Mini on Saturday, good luck. I hope I see you out there. And happy running. Enjoy every mile. I'll see you next week.